Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. I am once again simulcasting on Rumble and Utizzle, and I appreciate everybody who's joining me tonight. We got a lot of things in on Trump, right. Well, but what do I do usually? I play some videos while people get into the chats, get settled in, get themselves a cup of coffee, a glass of wine, like butter, and get on a roll.
The walls feel like they are closing in.
But as the walls close in around the president,
Donald Trump feels
closing in.
The walls are closing in on him.
because the walls are closing in.
The walls are closing in on the president.
Now the walls appear to be closing in.
Really kind of the walls closing in on him.
The walls are closing in because the walls are indeed closing in.
I think at this point, the walls are spinning.
The legal walls are closing in.
The walls are closing in on President Trump.
The walls, meanwhile, are closing in on the President of the United States.
The walls closing in on President Donald Trump.
It appears that the walls are closing in on this president.
feels that the walls are closing in on him.
The walls closing in on him.
The walls are closing in.
And
In on the president.
Are the walls closing in?
The walls are closing in on the presidency.
it says as the walls begin to close around him. The political walls closing in on him.
This is a president that feels the walls closing in.
The walls are closing in on Donald Trump.
I think the walls are finally closing in.
The walls,
The walls.
The walls.
The walls.
Walls and the walls.
The walls.
The walls
are
closing
in.
Closing
Closing in.
Closing in.
Closing in on.
It's closing in.
The walls are closing in
On President Donald Trump.
He's not looking forward to any of it. He's horrified. He's just talking big. The walls are closing in, as has been said before.
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy.
Storm zone. Yes, sir. I'm wondering what storm is on.
They have unsuccessfully tried to take down the wrong person.
he's absolutely going to come back with full vengeance the next time around.
I think about what 4 years of a retribution presidency might look like. Our Constitution really does give President tremendous power to destroy. This will be something we could never have imagined.
Now the gloves are off.
Some of Trump's close political allies told him they are working on figuring out the identities of the FBI and DOJ staff and forming lists.
I will direct a completely overhauled DOJ to investigate every radical DA and AG in America for their illegal, racist enforcement of the law. The deep state is destroying our nation, but the tables must turn, and we will quickly destroy the deep state. We know where the bodies are buried. There are a lot of people out there that have done some very, very evil things, very bad things, I would say treasonous things against our country. People that have done such harm to our country. I've been looking at them for a long time.
He could order the investigation and prosecution of individuals who he sees as enemies.
Put them all in jail where they belong. You gotta get tough and smart, and you have to fight fire with fire. You can't allow this to go on. I am your retribution. We will take care of it. We will take care of it.
Hi, folks. I hope you're having a great night and not being a panicking. I watched a video. Somebody I enjoy watching was being a panicking. I'll talk about that in a minute. They're all worried about this Epstein business going to Congress. Oh boy, but don't be worried about it. I tell you what, this is a good thing to leave on the screen for a little bit to get people to soak in what is happening, the gravity of what is happening, and the people who are experiencing PAIN right now, pain, which is in the 17th letter with a picture of the Punisher skull. That's what it means. They're feeling pain right now because they know the import of messages like you see on the screen from Paul Sperry. If two or more persons conspire to injure, oppress, threaten, or intimidate any person in the free exercise or enjoyment of any right or privilege secured to him by the Constitution or the laws of the United States, they shall be imprisoned not more than 10 years. And it is 18 U.S.C. 241, conspiracy against rights. Can you say Kaplan? Can you say Mercan? And then go on? Yeah, that's just for starters. This is a grand conspiracy. We're talking hundreds of people, high-level people very high-level people in the dozens. Judges, FISA court judges, attorneys, White House senior officials, because they branch from administration to administration. They're called holdovers, also known as moles. And all the three-letter agencies, law enforcement. Yeah, it's a big, big crowd, and we're going to rope them all in. So, that is a good one to get a screenshot of and just put on your Meta page, Facebook, or whatever platform you're on, and just put it up there and say, I'm going to leave this right here. Yeah. And, a lot of people that just start getting their picture phones and things like that, they don't know how to take a screenshot. It's easy. You just goggle. If you got an Android, how do I take a screenshot on my Android? How do I take a screenshot on my iPhone? And you pull it up right there. Dan Scavino put this up. Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. He put up a number of posts once again. And, of course, Mr. T put up posts, along with a lot of other people. But there are people, again, not sleeping well tonight. Let me see who came in here to visit me. I'm late on saying hi to everybody. Hi, Sissy, Linda, Tank, nice to see you, Debbie, Pappy Two Bears, Robin, Colette. Hello, Kathy. Wayne's here giving me a thumbs up. Anne's here. Flannel Cheese. Todd, nice to see you. Good to see you all coming in. Jerry's here, gave me a thumbs up too. And those of you watching after the broadcast, please remember to give me a thumbs up. It helps the video get around. I appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, why not? Oh, don't say that, Tank. Don't be sick of it. This is 10 years of work coming to fruition. Hi, Melinda. Whoa, my chats are jumping around. Oh, my goodness. Rebecca's here. Let's see. Jet lag. Nice to see you. Yeah, this is, remember, winners never quit and quitters never win. Winners never quit and quitters never win. I saw I got a clip of Mr. T. He's talking about meeting with Putin. And it's a short clip. But it's 17 seconds long. should I get into that right now? Why not? So I said, oh, no. Let me see if it's this one or, no, this is the 5-second one. The 5-second one. Here we go. Here's one 5 seconds. Then I'll play the 15-second one. Let's see what he's got to say. I think this is about meeting with Putin.
You know, they have a meeting tomorrow. We have a meeting with Russia tomorrow. We're going to see what happens. We're going to see what happens. You know, they have a meeting tomorrow. We have a meeting with Russia tomorrow. We're going to see what happens.
Yeah, that was with the meeting with Steve Witkoff, which I heard went very well. But I remembered seeing multiple times, let's see what happens. And I pulled it up. You know, I'm a minimalist when it comes to searching on the board, right? I put in what happens. So I get 81 posts because there are so many posts that said, what happens when you do this? What happens when you do that? So the next one I put in was, let's see. Because I remembered it was, let's see what happens. He didn't say exactly that this time. He said, we're going to see what happens. But I pulled them up, and it was like 7 posts. I didn't have time to crop it down. Let's see what happens. A quote. Fox News. Brennan notes. CIA memo. Clinton. When was this? 2020. The next one. Let's see what happens. Twitter. Ron Johnson. The next one. Let's see what happens. Drop today. RE Senator Johnson. RE redactions. Let's see what happens. Think POTUS today. No redactions. Do you see what happened? He ordered declassification. Remember that, folks? I put that post up and showed where Trump said, I ordered everything released, no redactions. Did you see what happened? They redacted all that stuff. Here we are again, 6 years later. Let's see what happens. U.S. Intel declassified more evidence showing why FBI Russia probe was broken. 2020, 6 years ago. So, Tank, everybody else, don't get despondent. We're coming down the end of a long road with a lot of work. What was the next one? Deployed at unseen levels, question mark. Dirty laundry, blackmail controls DC, question mark. Are they protected, question mark. Threats, bribe, blackmail, or sharing of like beliefs. Like beliefs, dark secrets. Let's see what happens. So you have at least 2 groups of people. Those who are doing what they're doing because they believe in the same dark secrets, or those that are doing what they're told because of threats, bribe, and blackmail. One more came up. under Let's See. What's that a picture of? I cropped it because I didn't have room on the screen. But anybody know what this is? There are a group of pictures which I know I can't put on Utizzle, not because they're offensive, but supposedly where they came from. Hi, Debbie. What is that, folks? What is that object on the screen? What is it? What is that? Anybody got any idea? Oh, it's not BS, Kathy. I would relax your mind and watch the show. What's going on? Comer is subpoenaing all these people. They're going to be under oath. They've had their bots in the YouTube comment section. We want to see the Epstein files. We want to see the Trumpstein files. Trumpstein is a P3DO and all this kind. Oh, you want to see the Epstein files? Oh, okay. Bill made a guess, said camera. Well, that is a fuzzy picture. Whoa. Media keywords. Hunter Biden asleep, sleeping crack pipe. Crack pipe. Twitter. It was Hunter Biden laptop. That was a close-up of his crack pipe. FBI possession since late 2019. No interviews. Joe Hunter Biden due to optics. RE attack political opponent. Lesson of the day. If you run from POTUS, all your crimes magically disappear. Sometimes it takes transparency to force action. Let's see what happens. In this case, does having early stage dementia help you? RE previous deniability? Harmful politically? Like Joe's dementia? Drain the swamp. Who has been doing interviews? Popped up out of the ground. I know who it was. Hunter Biden. That's why I put on my thumbnail this right here. This is my thumbnail. Stroll down memory lane under oath. 28 times Bill. I watched a video with, I don't watch her much, but it was a breakdown. It had something. The title was something about Epstein, whatever. Oh, she had Epstein's brother on as a guest, his brother. So I said, well, I'll listen to that while I was outside doing work. Well, she mentioned this property Epstein had. The Brooklyn brownstone. The Manhattan brownstone. She mentioned the Florida property that he owned. She mentioned the island that he owned. She mentioned something else he owned. One thing she left out was the Montana ranch. She didn't touch that at all, and that's where he was going to do his genetic experiments. Remember that, folks? I played that video. And then she talked about all the different pictures in the house. Who were in the pictures and stuff like that. One thing she didn't mention was the blue dress picture. So I knew right off the bat, well, this is going to be a half-baked dive into everything. But it's all going to come out. Hi, Hawk. How you doing? New Mexico. Yeah, that's right. New Mexico ranch. Hi, Kathy. If I missed anybody, I apologize. So anyway, yeah, it was a pretty good interview, you know, but it is getting the people that don't know anything about Epstein to start paying attention, and then they're going to drop the bomb, I believe. We're going to see a show. Let me see. Is this the schedule? Who was it? It was Doug. What happened? Where's my screen? Are you all with me? Where's my screen? My screen went out. My screen went dark. Holy cow. Let me see what's wrong here. What do you all see on the screen? What's on my screen? I see nothing but blackness. Everything went black on me. Uh-oh. I don't know what to do. I don't have any screen. Okay. Hillary and Bill Epstein. Oh, it popped back up. There it is. Woo! It's all messed up now. Everything's moved around. But I can move back. That's okay. That was close. I had nothing but a black screen. Now I have this I'm trying to put up. Whew. Representative James Comer. The House Oversight Committee is compelling the following individuals to appear for depositions through issued subpoenas. Now, the creator I was talking about was Doug TenNapel. I like Doug TenNapel. I've talked about him in the past. But he said, oh, don't get everybody's attention over on Epstein. We got to keep it on Russia collusion. Hey, we can walk and chew gum, Doug. The people are clamoring for Epstein. They're going to get it all right. They're going to get more Epstein than they could ever imagine. He did it backwards. He starts with October, but really it's September. When you look at the names and you look at what we already know about these people, Eric Holder in September, Loretta Lynch in September. Can you remember the tarmac meeting with Bill Clinton? Robert Mueller, September. Did you all hear that Robert Mueller is in what they termed a memory assistance living situation? Sounded to me like a nice way of saying a nursing home where he has dementia is what they're claiming. Did you all hear that too? About Robert Mueller? Jeff Sessions in August. Alberto Gonzalez, Bill Barr. Now here's where we is going to be Red October. James Comey, Merrick Garland, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton. Who's the first? Merrick Garland. I don't know why he has it mixed up like this. Merrick Garland's on the 2nd. James Comey's on the 7th. Hillary's on the 9th. And they're saving Bill Clinton for last on the 14th. Under oath, under penalty of perjury. What do you think they're going to do? You think they're going to plead the 5th? Let's see what clandestine said. He said a couple of things. These subpoenas are a no-win situation for the deep state. Even if they plead the fifth, that will prove they have zero dirt on Trump. Who would be in the know? Exactly the people being called. If they talk, they'll incriminate themselves and will also prove they have zero dirt on Trump. This move from House Republicans is essentially calling the Dems MSM's bluff and allowing them to show the evidence to support their claims that Trump committed heinous atrocities with Epstein. The Dems, MSM, did not want this to happen. They wanted the status quo to remain. They wanted things to remain ambiguous so they could continue to smear Trump. These subpoenas forced them to show their hand, and they have nothing. Exactly. I concur. Don't you? And Trump's not sweating any of it. I get that one off the screen. Let me see. He's not sweating any of it. What's he doing on the roof? Here he is. One of the clips of him on the roof. Why would he be on the roof? Let me see if this is where he says he's building right before the meeting with Putin. He says is this the one where he says he's building nukes?
Mr. President, what do you want to build? What are you trying to build? Sir, do you approve? You saying more missiles? Are you building missiles? What? Come on, Dad.
That might be missiles.
Did you say missiles? Taking over all of Gaza, sir.
Yeah, that's where he said, missiles, you're going to build? He said nukes. So here he is telling them, I use my money. Nobody gives me any credit for it, but I'm donating my salary. But it's hard to hear, but you can hear him do it. I see some guesses. Bill said he's going to build a big dance hall. Gary, thank you for helping support tonight's program at Buy Me a Coffee, Gary. I do appreciate it. The chairman of the board stepped up and helping end the week with a big presentation at Buy Me a Coffee. I do appreciate it. Link in the description for anybody that wants to help the channel out. But anyway, why would he be on the roof? Here he is talking about his salary.
Trump just a few moments ago.
Yeah, I got one more clip from behind the scenes, but I see Miss Mendersu gave Gary some booms for going to Buy Me a Coffee. Let me see. I'm going to do fireworks because I don't want to set any bombs off with Mr. T on the screen. When Mr. T's on the screen, I do a little fireworks and let's see. Come on. Pow. What is that little poop, pow, ping? I don't do any bombs or anything with Mr. T on the screen. But, yeah, I got one more behind the scene shot. This is thank you to Gary for buying me a coffee. I should have a picture of Joe Biden up there, and then I could set up my time bombs. But anyway, I won't do that. I'll stick with these. Pow, pow, pow. Here's a behind the scenes one. Now, what I'm getting at is you all are my witness that I said the week before last that I had a good friend that bought a lumber company and got in big trouble because he didn't realize he was buying it, warts and all. He ended up buying all the debt, but he gave me a bit of advice about building. How many of you remember me talking about that bit of advice? He came out on top in the end, even though he went through that rough patch. But anyway, here's the behind the scenes. Look at that roof, would you? I think that was Dan Scavino filmed that. But what my friend said, and you all are my witness, I said, it's always cheaper to build up, right? If you have an existing building and you can put another story on, do it. How many of you remember me saying that? You've already got your footers in, you've already got your foundation, your excavation, your backfilling. All your footers are done. All you have to do is build up. Always build up when you can. Is that why Mr. T's on the roof? How many of you remember me saying that? Ain't that something? But anyway, here's another clip. Let me make sure I clean this studio out so I don't have things in here that confuse me that I've already played. Is this federalizing DC? I don't know. He covers so many topics. When are these people that are so hateful toward Trump, can't they see the difference? Anytime, day or night, he fields questions from anybody about any subject and covers it articulately and well, and has a grasp of just any subject these people pull out of their hats. Unprecedented access by a president. But let's see what he's saying.
I have to say that somebody from Doge was very badly hurt last night. You saw that. A young man who was beat up by a bunch of thugs in D.C. In terms of government and in terms of protection, we're going to have to federalize and run it the way it's supposed to be run.
Run it the way it's supposed to be run. Ain't that the truth? Let me see what's going on with my how. If you all will bear with me while I see what is going on with this. Huh. There we go. I guess, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, he's talking about federalizing DC. I've got some truths from him concerning that. Let's see what's going on. Hi, ourselves. Let's see. Yeah, I don't like that kind of talk in my chats. Trump didn't say it. I don't say it. I didn't put it in my title. Yeah. All the clickbaiters do, not me. I want a family-friendly broadcast, chats included. Crime in Washington, D.C. is totally out of control. Some only 14, 15, and 16 years old are randomly attacking, mugging, maiming, and shooting innocent citizens at the same time. They are not afraid of law enforcement because they know nothing ever happens to them. But it's going to happen now. Yeah, these thugs know it. The law in D.C. must be changed to prosecute these, quote, minors as adults and lock them up for a long time, starting at age 14. I told you all years ago I worked at a residential facility for troubled youths. And you're dealing with kids that were 12, 13, 14-year-old that have countless times knocked little old ladies down and taken their purses. And this was 30 years ago or more. So I can only imagine what it's like now. Washington, D.C. must be safe, clean, and beautiful for all Americans, and importantly, the world to see. If D.C. doesn't get its act together and quickly, we will have no choice but to take federal controls on notice that they're not going to get away with it anymore. Perhaps it should have been done a long time ago. Then this incredible young man and so many others would not have had to go through the horrors of violent crime. If this continues, I'm going to exert my powers and federalize this city. Make America great again. Yeah. Here's some posts from Dan Scavino. He went on a little mini tirade. What did the U.S. Secret Service have to tell Joe Biden? R.E. Hunter. Didn't I just pull up posts from 6 years ago talking about Hunter and Joe Biden? What were they asked by the Secret Service? And then Dan Scavino puts this post out, all from let's see what happens. The American people deserve to know. Imagine being a current senator or former members of Congress and begging the Biden auto-pen administration for a pardon and getting it. Thugs. Who else got pardons that we don't know about? What is going to happen with that auto-pen crap, by the way? Here's another post Scavino put up. A picture. I was going to put that in my thumbnail. But then you don't get any people that could possibly learn something if they really can't stand Trump. But anyway, James Comey, back in 8/23/24, Kamala Harris made me feel like it's finally morning in America. Everyone who cares about the rule of law and America's indispensable role in the world should vote for Harris and Walz. I will. John Brennan. This is Scavino again, Dan Scavino. Kamala Harris for president. Our future, prosperity, security, global leadership, and national decency depend on her election. Oh my God. That's desperate. And he put up another one. Let me see what this is. He's trolling them, showing how idiotic they look. Whatever happened to the witness who lied to Congress? Who's he talking about, ladies and gentlemen? Regarding DJT and those around him, a year after departing the White House in 2021, these people blatantly lied to fulfill a narrative, all to destroy DJT and those around him. Lies with millions made in book deals. Thereafter. BS. What was her name? Caitlin or I did a video on her. I got her on the thumbnail where she said Donald Trump tried to choke a Secret Service agent. Seeing if anybody remember the name. I can't remember her name right offhand. I hope so, Miss Mendersue. How are you, Miss Mendersue? I forget her name. Cassidy Hutchinson. Did I get it first? Yeah, I did. Cassidy Hutchinson. That's who he's talking about. Cassidy. She was a plant. Can you use emotions to insert a plant? California, those Californians are going to be seeing headlines like this. African American meets Native American. Momdi and Warren in liars has been putting her in the spotlight. Jackie, how you doing? Well, Barr's been subpoenaed. Let's see what he looks like, Gary. When he comes on the screen, when he shows up for his deposition. Here's a video that Mr. T put up. So if he put it up, I think it's worth playing. Let's hear what this young man has to say. Speaking of New York Post leaving for other states.
Did you guys hear what Oklahoma just did? They're now the first state in the country to roll out an America First certification test, and it's specifically for teachers coming from states like California and New York. Yes, if you're a teacher moving before you can teach. It covers a lot of things like American history, civics, the Constitution, and yes, basic biology. The idea is simple. If you're going to teach kids in Oklahoma, you need to understand and support the values that built this country. And no, it's not about party politics. It's about truth, responsibility, and respect for this nation's foundations. Oklahoma Education Chief Ryan Walters said they're not going to let radical agendas sneak into the classroom. They're partnering with groups like PragerU to make sure teachers are well versed in what they call common sense civics. And honestly, they're saying a lot of people are applauding this, and I can see why, because it's common sense. Because if you're leaving a state where the educational system is crumbling, maybe it makes sense to check if your teaching lines up with the values of a new place you're moving to. This isn't about banning people. This is about raising the bar. But let's be real quick. Would you want your kids learning from someone who doesn't believe in the basics? Oklahoma just drew a line in the sand, and I'm so hoping that all the other states will follow. So here's the real question. Do you think this will start a trend? I sure hope so.
I hope so too. Yeah, get some teachers that know how to teach, know what they're talking about. Here, I'm going to put this one up. Leave and get a screenshot of that. You can put that on your Meta too. Their own words. We'll use their own words, won't we? Hi, Rain. How you doing? Yes. Bravo, Oklahoma. Araceli, hope so, yeah. We'll get some people in there that can, what did we all watch? Most of us probably watched this Oklahoma, not Oklahoma, but this shooting in Georgia. Let's get somebody that knows how to spell Cornelius if they're going to teach. Here is the person that shot up, 5 people or 4, and he was one also. I don't know. I heard a story that that one of the soldiers stopped him with their own weapon. But he also, it says here, breaking the Fort Stewart shooter, who is in custody, is a 28-year-old Army Sergeant Cornelius, spelled with a Q, Cornelius Radford. I have never seen that name, spelling, pronunciation, or anything ever. All 5 he did not use a military weapon. All 5 soldiers who were shot are in stable condition. 3 underwent surgery. Praise God. Now throw the book at this monster. What's it going to be? Some kind of situation like what happened with this recent character that got caught in the woods, was on the run for 6 days because of some kind of degenerate love triangle. Who knows? But the story will come out. Hi, Stanton. How you doing? I'm glad you're enjoying the broadcast. Welcome aboard. Let me see. I got another one here from Clandestine. Proves the Dems are textbook fascists. The Dems and intelligence community weaponize and politicize the mainstream media. Free and fair media outside government control. They did so in order to disinform the public. Remember, Trump kept saying misinformation, disinformation. They wittingly fed political lies. No, they did so in order to disinform the public and steal elections. They wittingly fed the political lies to the American people under the guise of a free media. If the people are not properly informed, can we actually call it democracy? If the ruling class are psychologically manipulating the public to vote for their candidate, can we actually call it a democracy? Well, illegal psychological warfare campaign. That's what Trump called it, and that's what it is. Let's see what this is. Called the Fort Worth shooter and subdued him. Okay, allowing law enforcement to take him into custody. All right. I heard that, well, they're not allowed to carry their weapons on base. So that makes more sense. That somebody tackled him. Thank goodness for that. Well, you know, do you remember Howard Stern? Speaking of this corrupted media, Howard Stern telling me, well, if you don't like what I say about Trump, don't watch my broadcast. Stay off my broadcast. Remember that? Well, his ratings were going in the turlet, and he is going bye-bye. Howard Stern's stint as Sirius XM reportedly nearing an end. Do you take a guess at what he was costing Sirius XM? Take a guess how much money per year. Aracelis remembers. Yeah, but he's done damage he's been on Sirius for 20 years. And before that, he was the so-called shock jock on open airwaves. Just a creep. Yeah, he's a vulgar creep. 20 billion a year, sissy? My God. I would even be a vulgar creep for 20 billion a year. Bill, $100 million. That's exactly right. Rain came in at 50 million. Very close. I mean, you know, it's crazy numbers. But, you know, if you're going to sell your soul, might as well get 100 million. Speaking of selling their soul, here you got Obama. This is where Tulsi Gabbard came out. Let's see. Trump put up a post about her. Here it is. He put up this post, and I grabbed a clip from Trump's Truth. There she is. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. Obama directed that a National Security Council meeting be called. They were tasked to create an intelligence assessment that detailed how Moscow tried to influence the election. Not if, but how. They knowingly wrote things in this assessment that were false. Well, at the beginning of this, because the ship is eventually going to be, they're the number one, what Trump has said many times, the number one enemy of the people is the mainstream media. But anyway, then she gets into the details of how Obama is neck deep in this business.
You were playing those clips of these people like Morning Joe seemingly befuddled, saying that by no account is any of this true. I would challenge them to see if they've actually read the documents, every single page of the documents that we've released over the last couple of weeks. If not, go to odni.gov, G-O-V. It's all right there for anyone to see. And those who go in and read this will see how President Obama directed that a National Security Council meeting be called to talk about Russia, that the report that came out of that meeting was filled with tasks that were delivered by James Clapper's assistant to John Brennan and to other elements of the intelligence community. John Brennan was the head of the CIA at the time, all saying per the president's direction, per the president's order. And very specifically, they were tasked to create an intelligence assessment that detailed how Moscow tried to influence the election, not if, but how. And this was the beginning of this manufactured intelligence assessment where they knowingly wrote things in this assessment that were false, and they knew they were false. They knew that they were basing it on discredited intelligence or documents like the Steele dossier that was politically motivated, and that with the Russia hoax that was then weaponized and used to try to delegitimize the president, President Trump, and to try to ultimately enact this years-long coup throughout his entire...
Through the entire 4 years, they put us all through hell. And that's just one layer of the grand conspiracy. You can add the pathogen into that too. And that's what I'm going to keep repeating, that somehow, some way, there's going to be a joint statement, whether it's Russia and the U.S. or Russia, China, and the U.S., there's going to be a joint statement put out because it affected the entire world and damaged hundreds of billions of people. It harmed them. And not just physically, but psychologically. Destroyed families, destroyed finances. But you have China, Trump saying, well, they owe us 50 trillion. Remember that? Well, China is going to want to set the record straight. So we shall see with that. We shall see. But I think we're going to get these people in front of Congress about this Epstein business. But anyway, right after that, you had those that scream the loudest, Mark Warner. He's out of Virginia. Remember I told a story about him? John Warner was a Republican senator. I know he was married to Elizabeth Taylor, and they were at one time the quintessential Hollywood, Washington, D.C. power couple. Do you all remember that? John Warner? And he retired around after Ollie North testified about Iran-Contra and George H.W. Bush was in office. Well, anyway, when John Warner retired, the Democrats put up a guy named Warner. And people had been voting for Warner for senator for 30 years, 40, I don't know how many years. And all the celebrity and political capital that came with that name. And so Warner got in, but right off the bat, he comes out, Tulsi Gabbard is a threat to our national security and should be fired. You better have some receipts for that, mister. You're talking about a cabinet member. You're making spurious accusations about a cabinet member. Let's see. Trump should be forced to end the special military operation by a further $10 per barrel drop in oil prices. He also said he intends duties on India, which he did, to 50% for the purchase of Russian oil within 24 hours, and he did. The Trump administration is considering additional sanctions against the Russian shadow fleet. If Russia Friday, reports the Financial Times. At the start of his second term, Trump did not impose sanctions on the shadow fleet. Sanctions list included 213 vessels. Sources tell the publication that additional sanctions were seen as a simple first step to make Russia bear costs. Another source close to the Trump administration said a range of options is being considered, including sanctions against the fleet. I think it's I think it goes on to say that there's 400. Let's see. It is expected report recent EU steps in this direction, which last month imposed sanctions on more than 100 vessels, bringing their total number to 415. I was saying that the way Trump is going to handle Russia was he's going to break their backs with oil. Remember when Russia and Saudi Arabia were in an oil war back in 2018 or 19? Trump stepped in and mediated it. And he ended up buying oil, gobs of it, enough to fill the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to the tippy top. And he bought that oil for less than the cost of production per barrel. And he stabilized oil prices because oil prices were plummeting. Trump's new anti-Russian sanctions will hit the U.S. economy like a sledgehammer, CNN writes. Here's an example of how the mainstream media is taking the TDS people and making their heads spin. One day their talk is that Trump is a Russian puppet and he is too soft on Russia because he works for Putin. That's why he's too soft on Russia. He needs to do sanctions on Russia. Well, people start not believing that crap. They turn around and say that sanctions on Russia will hit the U.S. economy like a sledgehammer. That's out of CNN. They're talking out of both sides of their mouth. This refers to Trump's threats to impose import tariffs of up to 100% against countries that buy Russian oil. The U.S. may face higher consumer prices and lower profits for American companies. Report. Well, if CNN hadn't been paying attention, we're in the catbird seat. We're bringing in hundreds of billions of dollars in investment and in tariff revenue. And drill, baby, drill. We're ramping up oil production and selling it. So they're talking out of their backsides. What's this one now? India and Russia affirm strategic partnership, reaffirm, to sign protocol to deepen cooperation in aluminum, fertilizers, railways, and mining technology. Well, good. Russia and India signed a protocol on expanding industrial and technological cooperation. This happened immediately after Trump imposed 25% tariffs on India for purchasing Russian oil. Both sides welcome the expansion of cooperation, all down, as well as the enhancement of capacity and technology transfer, all this stuff. Reported the Indian ministry following the 11th meeting of the India-Russia Working Group on Modernization and Industrial Cooperation held in New Delhi. And this reporter's Russian, so he says, "How do you like that, Donald Trump?" They're neighbors. Who cares if they cooperate? What is the point of being in charge of a nation if it's not to make the lives of your people better? Have you ever seen India? The ghettos, the misery, the human suffering. They need to work together as neighbors to uplift their own people. If they think that this is bothering Trump or anybody here in the United States, they're sorely mistaken. Russia's barely 2 clicks above a third world nation anyway, from the damage they suffered from communism. Right, Zoran and Pocahontas? So, neighborhood development, I'm talking the neighborhoods of nations, their own neighborhood, picking each other up is a good thing. Wouldn't you agree? Anyway, what do you make of this stuff, folks? Strongly suggests and then threatens that leaks about Trump's involvement with Epstein are Israel's punishment for Trump's refusal to bomb Iran more. He warns it really doesn't pay to start up with Israel. Oh, really? We're saving Israel for last. Trump doesn't care about the Epstein thing as far as his reputation because he didn't do anything wrong. And that's why we're going through this D-class right now, where we're going to hold people their feet to the fire about Epstein. What's this? Here's another one from Trump. The truth always wins out. This is great news. God bless America. President Donald J. Trump. Ex-Obama officials face grand jury probe into whether they promoted the Russia hoax. So we'll have 2 shows going on. Epstein files and the Russiagate files, which is, they're all going to tie into a lot of other corruption. Here's ABC News. They got a picture of Putin and Trump. Now look how they made his face more orange. They adjusted that picture to make him appear more orange. They constantly do this crap. A bilateral meeting between President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin could happen as soon as next week. White House Special Envoy Steve Witkoff returned from Moscow on Wednesday and relayed to President Trump that Putin would like to meet with him, the official said. In response, Trump indicated he is open to that if Putin also meets with Volodymyr Zelensky. The official added, well, there's another report here where Trump is saying, if there's not a peace deal, I'm really not worried about meeting. But he did say, this is great news. He said that about Witkoff's meeting be great news, but he also said this was great news, that appeals court upholds Texas law requiring ID numbers to cast mail-in ballots. I guess, well, it's something anyway. I don't think there should be any unless you're overseas serving or physically incapable of getting there. But anyway, Trump said the meeting with Witkoff, I'll probably pull it up later, but the meeting with Witkoff went well, and he was glad of that. I'm proud to be the only president, with the possible exception of the late, great George Washington, to donate my salary. My first paycheck went to the White House Historical Association as we make much-needed reservations, improvements, and beautification is taking place at the White House at levels not seen since its original creation. Make America great again. You know, I don't like skipping over truths that he works hard to put out or has somebody working hard to put out. Politically embattled Senator crying. He brings it up again. He said it yesterday, too. $2 billion in order for the radical left Democrats to approve hundreds of Trump administration appointments who have been waiting for months and are raring to go. This has never happened before, and it's true. This is the first time in history. There has never in U.S. history been such a delay. They are extortionists. The Republican must create legislation in order to get out of the grasp of these country-hating thugs. Move quickly. Well, they say Chuck Grassley is giving Trump a hard way to go, but I think that is to put Grassley in a position where they can't call him a Trump flunky. Oh, I want to put this up too at the right size so you can get a screenshot of that and put it up on your Meta. So they can't claim that Grassley is a Trump flunky. I think that'll get hammered out. It's about windmills, something they could easily ash. And apparently Trump's not worried about it either. The Telegraph. Look at this. Vladimir Zelensky is twice as popular in the United States as Donald Trump, according to a recent poll. Who the hell are they kidding? Everybody in the comments was calling this article stupid, ridiculous. I mean, comments were 10-1. 10-1 about how dopey that was. Speaking of dopey, Babylon B put this up. Adolf Hitler has great genes. So anyway, I don't know if you all watched Babylon B. They got a little video up about that. They're still picking on Bolsonaro. Brazil judge puts Bolsonaro under house arrest for social media posts. Ban breach. Brazil's Supreme Court places former President Jair Bolsonaro under house arrest for breaching a social media ban. The Trump ally is on trial for allegedly plotting a coup after losing the 22 election, with judges accusing him of trying to disrupt proceedings through remarks shared by allies. Well, Trump bumped their tariffs up, and they're agitating to be separated from the dollar. You have this showdown with India, Russia, and what happens? This happens. BP makes largest oil and gas discovery in 25 years off the coast of Brazil. What is BP? Who knows what BP stands for? Or they let it out when they were told to let it out. Don't forget, the UK, elements in the UK government participated in this attempted coup on Trump, and that is an act of war. And they're marching to Trump's tune, is what I'm telling you. And all this stuff that is coming out is going to show Russia that if you don't work with Trump, you will be flat broke. Because oil is, as we have talked about in the past, the second most plentiful liquid on the face of the earth next to water. And oil is organic. And people are fed up with a climate change hoax and all the BS that goes with it. And we're going to find so much and be able to utilize so much that it's going to adversely affect Russia's income big time and their ability to wage war. That's right, Debbie. That's right. Hi, Dirt Squirt. How you doing? British Petroleum. Oh, who got it? Oh, everybody got it. Yay. Bill, Graybeard, Todd, Miss Mindersue. Yep, that's what BP stands for. They're marching to Trump's drum beat. What's this? Here. End wokeness. I want to put that up after Trump talked about federalizing D.C. It shows D.C. the homicide rate, 41 per 100,000. Look at all these countries. Lima, Peru, Havana, Cuba, Nairobi, Kenya, Brazil, Lagos, in Nigeria, Bogota, Colombia, Mexico City. The fact our capital city is less safe than the ones in third world countries is an absolute disgrace. That's another one for you to put on your meta. The digital battlefield, no retreat. One falls, another rises. Hey, I'm going to play this. They're giving Trump a bunch of guff about they're blaming Trump for the Texas situation where all these representatives ran off to Illinois and New York and who else. Ones that didn't go, they've got state troopers out with orders to arrest them. If they catch them in Texas, they can arrest them. Texas state troopers. So anyway, Jasmine Crockett was going around. She called him a foul word. I won't repeat. Trump, and she blames Trump and the Trumpites for this in-state battle over redistricting, something that happens all the time, and there is no rule, statute, law, or anything that says when you're allowed and not allowed to redistrict. They're claiming a tradition that they're breaking tradition. Well, anyway, here's Trump talking about Jasmine Crockett.
The Democrat Party is self-destructing. I mean, when you have low IQ people like Crockett, I wonder if she's any relationship to the late, great Davy Crockett, who was a great gentleman. I wonder if she's got any relationship to Davy Crockett, the great old Davy Crockett. But you have this woman. Somebody said the other day she's one of the leaders of the party. I said, you got to be kidding. The Democrats are lost. They have Trump derangement syndrome so bad that they can't walk, they can't talk, I mean. They don't know where they're going. Schumer is finished. Schumer, look, I watched him the other day. He's lost all of his confidence.
Yeah, Chuck Schumer, the one Trump told to go to hell. About that, here's something, a good one that came up. This guy is Larry O'Connor. This is how Democrats drew my congressional district in Maryland a few years ago so they could maximize their representation in Congress. Spare me the fake outrage. They're just pissed about Texas because Republicans have finally started playing the Democrats' game. This is supposed to be a district. It's supposed to be contiguous. It's supposed to be some geometric form that's recognizable, like a rectangle or a square or an octagon or something, a poly something. But this thing is absolutely ridiculous. It's connected in some places by one road. How would you like to campaign in a district shaped like this? You'd have to go all over the damn state. So, yeah, this is gerrymandering. What you see on the screen is gerrymandering. When you read district, it's quite another thing. There's something else you can take a screenshot and put it on. How corrupt and crooked they are. Let me line this up in the center so it doesn't get in the way of my other things I put up. It's hard to say what's in that Gulf water. Let's see. Here's Stephen Colbert. See if you catch a tactic the media is using. But see, what he's trying to normalize is so outrageous. But for loose brain, smooth brain liberals, they bite hook, line, and sinker. But even Colbert he's talking to Jabba the Prisker right here about how crazy looking these districts look. But see if you can catch the media tactic they're going to use.
Crazy districts in Illinois. Take a look at this. Look at 17 here. It does that. Then it comes up here and it sneaks around there and goes all the way up here and then goes right over there like that. And look at this one, kind of goes whoop up there. It's like the stinger on a scorpion down here. Is this common for all states to do?
Well, we handed it over to a kindergarten class and let them decide.
Okay, and that's the nonpartisan group that does this
Absolutely.
For you guys?
That's our independent commission, you know. That is, yeah. I mean, look.
So because all states, to a certain extent, do this, why is what Texas doing particularly egregious in this case?
Well, here, every 10 years we do a census in this country, and right after the census, we redraw districts in every state. But what the Republicans are trying to do, and the Texas Republicans, frankly, at the behest of Donald Trump, are doing it mid-decade. That is extraordinarily rare.
That's an important point, because I think he literally called them or wrote them and said, hey, I need 5 seconds.
Yeah, I don't know if you caught it right there at the end. First of all, they're trying to normalize districts made to look like a Rorschach test, and they're using race, which is illegal. But at the very end, he said, Trump called him up and said, I need 5 seats. That's the same tactic they're using on CNN. Trump called him up and said, I need this, because they're trying to tie it back into when Trump was on the phone with the Georgia governor, Kemp, and said, I need 17,000 votes. And the greatest lies are half-truths. The other part of that truth was he was saying, you've got thousands of dead people. You've got thousands of ballots with no signatures. You've got thousands of ballots with people that don't live in the state. I need 17,000 votes. You're telling me with all that obvious fraud you can't come up with 17 votes, 17,000? That's what he was saying. But you'll hear that dropped in there. Trump called and said, I need 5 seats. It's a subtle tactic, but most of you get what I'm saying. Here, let's see what this is. Oh, here's a nitwit. This guy, I give him credit, the guy on ABC News, is asking him, why don't you get back so the people who suffered from the floods can get aid? I mean, you're holding everything up. And this guy's got to justify it. And there's no justification for them walking off the job and leaving their seats empty. That's obstructing state business. It's abandoning their seats. But anyway, here's how he tried to justify it.
And as you know, that means that there is other legislation that's going to be the victim of that. And that includes this bill for flood assistance for those Texans who were impacted by those devastating floods on July 4th. Are you concerned that all of this could ultimately be a mistake if that legislation also becomes a victim of this?
This is a Republican talking point. I'm concerned that Greg Abbott decided to play politics with flood victims and their families. The only emergency that we should be coming to the state capitol to address is flood mitigation and disaster prevention. That's what Texans want us to focus on. It's why my Democratic colleagues and I showed up on the first day of the special legislative session 2 weeks ago. We begged our Republican colleagues to prioritize flood victims and their families, and they refused.
But the reality is, Representative, the reality is the consequence of the decision, regardless of whether or not it's a talking point, is that this bill is not going to advance. Is that a bad thing if this bill doesn't advance?
And who put flood mitigation after redistricting on the agenda?
The Republicans. They control the floor.
Exactly.
They have made that decision.
Exactly.
But there will be consequences to your decision here, too. Will there not?
And you know why they did that is so that they could play politics with those flood victims, so that they could pressure us to give away our constituents' voices in the democratic process. They're using flood victims to try to get us to agree to these corrupt maps so they can rig the next election. We are not willing to sacrifice the American experiment. We begged them to prioritize flood victims, and they refused to do so. This is cynical politics at its worst.
You got that right. It's at its worst. You can't do your job, take your medicine, and show up for work. You win some, you lose some, and you lost. So it's time to get things squared away. Well, let's see Newt Gingrich. Senator Warren, who holds the same Senate seat once held by John F. Kennedy, but she has endorsed the avowed socialist communist Zohran Mamdani for mayor of New York. Kennedy declared in his 1961 inaugural address that America would pay any price, bear any burden to stop communism. By supporting Mamdani, Warren has proven once again how far the radical left has taken the Democrat Party from the party of JFK. Amen. Well, RFK, I saw that here, right here. This Can you read between the lines with this? Breaking RFK billion in funding for vaccine development projects. There goes a lot of people's money laundering, but let's read into it. The health secretary and longtime vaccine critic announced in a statement Tuesday that $500 million worth of vaccine development projects, all using mRNA technology, will be halted. Yeah. Can you read between the lines with that? That's going to tie into what I was talking about with China, Russia, and the United States kicking down the doors of this pathogen that they let out in the world. But also, this is another cutting off the supplies and the dirty money laundering. Oh, look at here. They got to come out of the woodwork all of a sudden. Here he is. Here he is. It's a power grab that undermines our democracy. Barack Obama. Yeah, you're under federal investigation for tree and then son, but let's hear what. Yeah, I think it's ABC News. What do they say about it? No, it's USA Today. Former President Barack Obama has jumped onto the nation's cross-country redistricting fight. His remarks made in a statement posted on X come as President Donald Trump has pressured Texas Governor Greg Abbott and Republicans' GOP-controlled Texas state legislature to approve new congressional maps to help Republicans maintain control of the U.S. House during 2026 midterms. I think Abbott and the Republicans would be doing it on their own. They're not getting pressured. We can't lose focus on what matters. Right now, the Republicans in Texas are trying to gerrymander district lines to unfairly win 5 seats in next year's midterm elections. Ha! They've been gerrymandering for forever. They invented it. You don't see Republicans doing states that look all kooky and crazy, but you sure do see it with Democrats. What's this? National Park Service, to reinstall Confederate was toppled during 2020 protests. Well, that was a federal monument. The National Park Service announced on Monday it will restore and install a statue of a Confederate general was toppled and burned in D.C. following the 2020 Black Lives Matter protests following the police St. George Floyd, the statue of Albert Pike, who served as a brigadier general in the Confederate Army during the Civil War, was the only outdoor statue in the nation's capital honoring a Confederate figure, according to the National Park Service. Well, hey, they didn't have any business tearing it down. If you touch this one, it's going to be 10 years in jail, okay? Here, Babylon Bee. Governor Abbott rounds up posse to lasso Dems and drag them back to face justice. Here you go, folks. Remember how I said they take cameras and they'll focus on like 3 or 4 people real close and make it look like a mob? 4 people look like a huge crowd. Well, this guy's a photographer, stages Hamas propaganda. So he gets everybody lined up with pots and pans. And it's like thousands of people are clamoring. And I know people are suffering over there. But we can't keep sending stuff over there. It's just going to be stolen by terrorists. We can't do it. Oh, here's a good one. Arnold Schwarzenegger prepared to campaign against California redistricting rush. Hollywood star and former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger said he is prepared to campaign against a Democrat-led effort to redraw the state's congressional district lines. So Hollywood is coming to the fore that they're not all liberal lunatics. At least some of them are. Like this one here. What's it? I haven't seen the movie yet, or I don't know if I ever will. Superman actor Dean Cain joins ICE. I don't know who he is, but I'm sure younger people do. ICE gets super boost. Superman star Dean Cain revealed he has joined Immigration and Customs Enforcement just days after DHS Secretary Kristi Noem ordered a call for citizens to get more involved. What's more than that, they got 10,000 positions to fill, paying jobs, a federal job. Better grab it while it's there. Here's something sad, folks. Remember this? Remember learning about it in school? 80 years. 80 years ago today, the U.S. dropped the first wartime atomic bomb on Hiroshima, killing 70,000 instantly. As global tensions persist, survivors warn of renewed nuclear threats. Watch Oppenheimer, The Decision to Drop the Bomb, to revisit the dramatic events of August 6, 1945. Yeah. Wow, 80 years. Oh, okay, Bill. Lois and Clark Superman on TV. Oh, okay. Yeah, Arnold's a rhino, but at least he's, at least pulling in the right direction. And he did get on the spew and straighten out Joy Behar. I remember watching that clip. I should have played that clip on this. Anyway, here is Trump. Let me see what this one is, this clip. There's Ronald Reagan in the background. I think this is where he expounds a little more on taking over D.C., federalizing D.C., bringing in the National Guard, I think he said in the end.
Or what? And that also includes the graffiti that you see, the papers all over the place, the roads that are in bad shape, the medians that are falling down, the median in between roads that's falling down. We're going to beautify the city. We're going to make it beautiful. And what a shame. The rate of crime, the rate of muggings, killings, and everything else, we're not going to let it. And that includes bringing in the National Guard, maybe very quickly, too.
And do you want Congress to look at overturning the D.C. Home Rule Act?
We're going to look at that. In fact, the lawyers are already studying it. We have to run D.C. This has to be the best run place in the country, not the worst run place in the country. And it has so much potential, and we're going to take care of it. You're going to be safe. You're going to be safe walking down streets. You're not going to get mugged.
Ha ha, yeah, you're not going to get mugged walking down the street. Though some of you deserve it. Here's one I don't even know what it is. It's an alert, though. It's a Fox alert. Alert. What could it be? Let me see. Schiff under criminal investigation. Can you see which way the tide is? They can survive all this crap for another 3.5 years. There's no way. It's only going to get worse for them. And they got to spend time and money defending themselves after they took their best shot at Trump in more ways than one.
An update on an Ingram Angle exclusive. A Trump administration source telling the Angle that a criminal investigation of Adam Schiff is underway, conducted by U.S. Attorney's Office in Maryland for possible charges involving mortgage fraud. Now, this follows the story we broke last month when the Federal Housing Finance Agency sent a criminal referral to the DOJ alleging that Schiff, in multiple instances, falsified bank documents and property records to acquire more favorable loan terms. In a 2011 affidavit signed by the then California congressman, he certified that a property in Montgomery County, Maryland, is his primary residence. He also owns a condo in Burbank, California, which he's also claimed is his primary residence, and said so in 2023 during his campaign for Senate.
I think just about every member of Congress has a residence in their state and a residence back in D.C. since we're in session much of the week. And people make a family decision where they're going to have their kids. But our principal residence, our primary residence is in California. It always has been and always will be.
Ruh-roh. Well, Senator Schiff has not responded to us about these allegations, but we were able back in 2023, she said that the Burbank condo is his primary residence, but Adams' California and Maryland addresses have been listed as primary residences for loan purposes because they're both occupied throughout the year and to distinguish them from a vacation property. Well, the law does not work that way. Let me just say that, but nice try. Look, it's anyone's guess what happens next, but we're going to stay on this story.
Well, I think that's the least of Adam Schiff's problems, is that mortgage thing. That is the least of his problems. I got another clip. Let me see what this is. Or did I play this one? No, I don't think Yeah, did I play this one? Gonna meet with Putin?
President Trump reportedly set to meet face-to-face with Russian President Vladimir Putin as early as next week. This comes right off of Steve Witkoff's meeting with Putin. Senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy fills us in on this huge development. Hi, Peter.
And Martha, I see the Chiron, we're citing a report. We can confirm that report. I was just in the West Wing, and I'm told that this is what happened. Earlier today in Moscow, Steve Witkoff was told by Vladimir Putin that Putin wants to meet at some point with Trump. Witkoff then relayed that message to the president, who is open to it, the possibility of a meeting as soon as next week, if the result of that meeting will be an end to the war in Ukraine. We know that President Trump was on a phone call with Volodymyr Zelensky and some European leaders. He shared this with all of them. We don't know exactly where in the world it would be. It could be anywhere, could be at the White House, could be in a neutral country like Qatar or Switzerland or something, the people that normally host things like this. And I have a statement from Caroline Leavitt, hot off the presses. Haven't seen this anywhere. It says, as President Trump said earlier today on Truth Social, great progress was made during Special Envoy Witkoff's meeting with President Putin. The Russians expressed their desire to meet with President Trump, and the president is open to meeting with both President Putin and President Zelensky. President Trump wants this brutal war to end. And so the emphasis there is on the Russians making this request, but President Trump obviously being open enough to it that there could be a global summit between Putin, Trump, and Zelensky as soon as next week. But there's also a possibility that it slides, and there's also a possibility that it never happens.
Yeah, well, what I saw, I read that what Trump was saying, if there isn't a peace plan, why would I meet? Why would I meet if you guys haven't got a plan put together? So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see if they meet or not. This is going to be the big thing, folks. This is going to get people's minds going. And Trump haters. This is going to get people to start chattering and looking around. Comer subpoenas Clinton's DOJ records in the Epstein probe. Look at Hillary there. Boy. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer issued several subpoenas in relationship to late financier. As I said, everybody's saying, well, all the billions he was handling, it's a mystery. Nobody knows who. I think I know. I think it was the McStain Foundation and the Clinton Foundation managing all this international money laundering and stuff from U.S. aid, government money, funneling it right back to politicians on top of the dark secrets they shared. The shared, I don't know if you could even call it a religion. Did you hear about this crazy nut right here? Right here. Dem lawmaker draws ire over Guatemala pride comment. This should be blasted over every news station. Some Republicans are demanding that Representative De La Ramirez be deported after she said, "I'm a proud Guatemalan before I'm an American." They got her on video saying that? Because they got her on video saying that. She had got no business in any state capital. No business in this country. So let's see which way that little ball bounces. I've got a video here. Let me see. And I'm wondering if it's going to get me in trouble. So I guess I'll put it up so we can find out. It's the beginning of easing into some other subjects. What is another subject that we need to be checking in on that has criminal consequences? The J6 cover-up, okay? The J6 destruction of evidence. And what happened to people like Suzanne Boyle, Ashley Babbitt, and I didn't know this myself, but 20 people died. The deaths are tied to J6. But anyway, will the short clip get me in trouble? I don't know. Once again, I want to thank Gary for helping sponsor tonight's program. Everybody that's helped out this week, I appreciate so much. Hilarious, Wayne, Mike and Bev, Shannon, and Pappy Two Bears. So anyway, folks, I have a link in the description if anybody wants to help the channel out in both Rumble description and Utizzle. Please don't forget to hit the thumbs up. And if this clip gets me in trouble, I won't be back for a week. But I should be back. If you're subscribed, you'll know if you hit the notification bell when I go live. So what do I always say? Thank you for spending your precious time with me. I don't think this clip is that bad, but you never know with these people, especially when you talk about stuff like J6 and Suzanne Boylan, right? Y'all have a great night. I'll be seeing you soon. This is Mountain Man, over and out.
you know, knows, but they've never gone to see Stop Hate, the website there, and watch the 22 death story.
Gary
McBride.
Oh, yeah.
Gary McBride is definitely, unequivocally, the guy that broke the Roseanne Boylan story. Had it not been for Gary McBride catching that,
who they tried to pass it off as an overdose death just because
the vicious beating that Lila Morris delivered on January 6th on the Capitol steps that they paraded around as a hero at the Super Bowl.
And Gary McBride, he was the one who found that footage of her beating Roseanne.
Yeah, he gave it to Kara Castronova. Kara broke
From the Gateway
story.
Pundit.
Yeah, so it broke. That's how the story broke. But Gary's the guy that found it. And after that, he was like a man possessed. He could never escape the injustice that he had seen because he heard what they said, how Roseanne Boylan died.